Final reflection presentation, Cheryl Atkinson. My aha moment number 1 was lessons learned from past teachers. At the beginning of the assignment, I was unsure of what to write. I thought, I don't remember that far back. But as I began thinking through my school years and looking at my school years, I did realize I learned a lot more from my teachers than I thought. When I looked back at personalities and classroom styles, and from that, I learned how to appreciate those that created a positive classroom environment versus those that did not. And that really made me look at my classroom environment and think reflectively about, am I creating that environment where all students feel capable and all students feel like learners, or am I creating an environment that stifles their creativity? So that really helped me look at where I've been and where I'm going and who I am as a teacher. My aha moment number 2 came from the power of the author's chair. With one of our first online classes together, and we were working on the no time narratives, and we began sharing with each other, and you presented the author's chair. I'd never heard of the author's chair used in this way. It just always is something for a student to share their work. But for the author to have the power to choose whether they wanted ideas or compliments or connections or memorable lines was very powerful to me. And I can see how with my students that can be a tool to help them grow as a writer, and not just something to be embarrassed about or to share their writing or to receive compliments, but to give them the power of choice of how they want others to respond to their writing. And that was just a very powerful moment for me. My aha moment number 3 dealt with finding my voice. The multi-genre project was very daunting to me. I don't mind writing for my students, and I don't mind teaching my students to write, but writing a product for someone other than a professor or someone other than my students seemed challenging. I didn't know where to start. So the writing process we went through together, with all the different steps of writing and revising and starting over and listing influential people in significant places and significant events, took me places I didn't realize I could go as a writer. And I really felt like I found my voice and began to feel more confident in what I was writing and who I was writing for, more than just academic writing. My aha moment number 4 was rethinking writing lessons in flipped classroom. This came about with the genre unit study. Looking at a unit that I've taught previously and revamping that and looking at it reflectively based on the informational writing lessons that we received, and really trying to map that out, and then using the mini lessons and recording videos. Again, the thought of doing that was, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to record mini lessons of myself. I didn't want to hear myself on the computer. I did not want to do that. But using the Screencast-O-Matic made it easy. Taking the mini lessons I already teach and turning them into Google Slides, I was able to use those. And then there was even one day in this, I'm working through this unit now with my students, and there was one day I had to be out with a sub, and I was able to load a couple of the lessons into the students' Google Classroom account, send the note sheets, and they were able to have me there with them in the classroom even though I was out. So that's really has me rethinking mapping out my units that I've even taught previously and using these programs to turn that into flipped classroom pieces for students to have extra help at home, or just even to have students working in small groups. Some students on the computers going through the lessons on their own with my direction on the computer, and then myself being able to pull a small group. So I can really see the value of that. My aha moment number 5 came today. I have a group of students who have struggled with writing their entire career, and they're 8th grade students. And I have one class in particular, it's an inclusion class, and these students have just been shut down time and time again with their writing. And when you ask them to write it, they have no idea where to start. And so this year, through an idea with this class, I began to release control. With our day book, where we were just able to write into the day and just write reflectively and write about things that interest us, I tried to release that control to my students. I've always had journal entries where I gave them topics and they were supposed to write on that one specific topic. And I do feel like there is a specific time and place for many lessons, of specific writing lessons on narratives or informational. But I also feel like these students just have not been given the time to just enjoy writing. And so I started a creative journal with these students at the beginning of the year. And so in September, I gave them just a list of multiple topics that had to do with September and fall, but also allowed them to come up with their own topic. I started off with easy topics where they could illustrate and they could draw and they could just write a few sentences. And when I allowed them to draw and just write a few sentences, I was able to see where they were in their writing, and their writing conferences evolved with me. They felt like they had power because they could mark off things they did not want to write about. And if there was nothing on the list that interests them, then they could come up with something else. And I've been amazed at the writing conferences I've had with these students. So today we had one of those days in teaching where it's the Monday after Thanksgiving holiday, and this one class came in, and we were down 12 students to the stomach flu. So I had a lesson prepared, ready to go, but it really seemed kind of silly to teach when most of the students were gone. So we came in, and it was after lunch, and I had students that hated writing that would put their heads down when we said the word write, saying, "Miss Atkinson, can we please write in our journals today? Can we have some extra writing time since so many people are out?" I never would have imagined these students asking to write. The student you see pictured in the black hoodie is one student in particular who at the beginning of the year put his head down. He didn't even do any of the first couple of journals. It was a struggle. But through some outside help with his 6th grade inclusion teacher who's been pulling him some on the side, and with him feeling like he had a choice, and even his October journals, we didn't even have him write. We let him speak his journals. Today he was one of those students asking to write, and as you can see, he's only halfway through his story, and he's already at the bottom of one page. So he was just writing feverishly over a silly topic he chose. This was a student who doesn't have a great home life and who's wants to drop out as soon as he turns 16. And he chose a story. He's writing a story about if I had a reindeer as a pet. So he was able to finish writing his story, and then because I had such small numbers today and we were just working and writing, so we just had a total writing conference day today. It was kind of fun with that class. We were able to do some of the revision techniques where actually we took a picture of his paper with the iPad, and then we talked about revising, and he talked about where he wanted to move stuff. So I gave him scissors and a glue stick and another blank sheet of paper. And he was just amazed, I can cut this apart. And so he literally cut his paper apart and was moving it around and adding to and having other students write. So my aha moment number 5 is when the blank page is not enough. And just really encouraging to the lessons I've learned in this class to be able to apply them in my classroom, and to see that with students who have never felt that way with their writing before, and helping my students find their voice just as I felt I was able to find my voice with this class.